In 1965, a reporter asked John Lennon how he thought he would die. The Beatles were at the height of their fame, untouchable gods of culture. But John didn't say old age. He didn't say a heart attack. He looked the reporter in the eye and said, "I'll probably be popped off by some looney." He was 25 years old. He had exactly 15 years left to live. On December 8, 1980, John Lennon walked out of the Dakota apartment building in New York City. He signed an autograph for a chubby, nervous man in a trench coat. 6 hours later, he returned. That same man was still there, and he wasn't looking for an autograph anymore. This isn't just the story of a musician. It's the story of a man who was hunted, first by his own government, then by his own fans, and finally, by fate itself. Most people remember the peace signs and the bed-ins, but by 1972, John Lennon wasn't just a hippie icon, he was a threat. J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI were terrified of him. They didn't just watch him, they built a mountain of evidence against him. We're talking about 26 pounds of secret files dedicated to a single guitar player. John told his friends his phone was tapped. He told them he was being followed by cars with no license plates. People thought he was paranoid. They thought he was high. But he was right. The Nixon administration was actively trying to deport him, fearing he would disrupt the 1972 Republican convention. By 1975, Lennon was living in a fortress, besieged by the very country he was trying to save. While the government watched from the outside, chaos was rotting his life from the inside. During his infamous Lost Weekend in Los Angeles, Lennon wasn't writing lullabies. He was spiraling. And he was hanging out with Phil Spector, the legendary producer who would later be convicted of murder. One night in the studio, Spector, drunk, unstable, and wearing a surgeon's outfit, pulled a gun. He fired it into the ceiling, right next to Lennon's head. John didn't flinch. He looked at the gun, then at Spector and said, "Phil, if you're gonna kill me, kill me. But don't mess with my ears. I need 'em." Violence was circling him. It was in his government files, it was in his recording studio, and soon, it would be on his doorstep. Enter Mark David Chapman. He wasn't a monster. He was a nobody who was desperate to be a somebody. Chapman was consumed by a book, The Catcher in the Rye. He didn't just read it, he believed he was the main character, Holden Caulfield. He looked at John Lennon, singing "Imagine No Possessions" while living in a multi-million-dollar apartment, and he saw a phony. His mantra became simple: the phony must die. On his final day at work in Hawaii, Chapman signed out of his security logbook. But he didn't sign his own name. He wrote, John Lennon. He had already stolen the identity. He just needed to remove the original. He flew to New York, he bought a .38 special, and he waited. On the evening of December 8th, Chapman stopped Lennon on the street. He handed him a copy of Double Fantasy. John signed it. He looked at his killer and asked, "Is that all you want?" Chapman nodded, but it wasn't all he wanted. The Dakota building has always been cursed. It was the setting for Rosemary's Baby. Lennon himself claimed he saw a crying lady ghost walking the halls. 10:50 p.m., the limo pulls up. Usually it drives into the secure courtyard. Tonight, for some reason, it stops at the curb. A fatal mistake. John steps out. A voice calls from the shadows. "Mr. Lennon?" 5 shots ring out, shattering the night, shattering the era. Chapman didn't run. He didn't try to escape. He took off his coat, sat on the cold pavement, and opened his book. He started reading The Catcher in the Rye, waiting for the police to come and take him away. The looney John predicted in 1965 had finally arrived. In the end, the FBI couldn't stop him. The critics couldn't stop him. It took a man who loved him too much to finally end the song.